School is where everyone is meant to be safe and feel welcome, but sometimes people treat others unjustly just because they're from another country or culture. That is xenophobia, and it makes students feel lonely or misunderstood. However, it doesn't have to be like this. In this documentary, we will listen to teachers and students who have experienced xenophobia and what we can do to make our schools a more accepting place. We will show the impacts of everyday actions such as listening, learning, and defending someone. When we get to know one another, we can be stronger together. When xenophobia is left unchecked, the consequences can be catastrophic for the target students. School could become a scary and intimidating place. Verbal harassment, social rejection, and bullying could have an adverse effect on their self-esteem and create isolation. Some students could start avoiding school in an effort to avoid harassment, while others could struggle to concentrate in school with a negative impact on their academic performance. Emotional applications of xenophobia could even lead to more severe forms of mental illness such as depression and anxiety. Students can feel like they do not belong, questioning their identity and self-worth. Even those who witness xenophobic actions can feel hopeless or afraid to speak out, creating a school culture where discrimination is tolerated. Xenophobia typically starts with misunderstandings. When people know very little about other people's cultures, it is an easy opportunity for stereotypes and negative judgments to reign. At school, this could take the form of exclusion, offensive jokes, or bullying for children of migrants and minority cultural children. These moments might be overwhelming. Xenophobia does not always appear in the obvious forms. It can also be present in thoughtless words that people say without realizing the harm inflicted. Comments such as, "You speak English so well for a foreigner," or "Where are you actually from," may seem harmless, but they can make a person feel as though they do not belong. Even avoiding or ignoring classmates based on their origins can perpetuate the sense of exclusion.
Understanding the impact of xenophobia requires listening directly from individuals who have encountered it. In the next section, students and teachers share their personal stories regarding their experiences with xenophobia in everyday life.
What types of xenophobia do you see or hear between your students, and how does it make you feel?
I have experienced hearing students make racial comments about other people, like racist comments, specifically towards like our Muslim students or our students who, just like experience different religions and different cultures from us. I've also hear a lot of students making transphobic or homophobic comments, and honestly, it makes me really uncomfortable, especially as like someone who is queer and someone who is a person of color. Also, it puts me in a weird situation because I feel like kids won't necessarily say it directly towards me, but I can hear it like in the background, and it doesn't make me feel safe when I hear kids or hear students saying these things.
Do you ever feel excluded because of your color?
Sometimes, yeah.
Why?
Because it's different when other people can like say something about like their skin color, like, oh, like I'm looking so pale or like white, and then they just all like stare at me and say like, sorry, they all stare at me and they're like, oh, like you wouldn't relate. I was like,
What about other people's actions and words make you feel excluded?
um, probably when they like assume that I'm a different race, so they tend to call me like a specific slur. So it's like kind of, oh.
Um, is there a story you can share about? Doesn't have to be from high school. A story you can share about a time you were like excluded or you were treated differently because of your color or race.
Hmm. Probably when I was little in elementary school, where there was like a bunch of people that seen my mom because she would pick me up, and my mom, she's light skinned, she's very white, and I'm like a darker skin because I got it from my dad, and they would say it, tell my mom, adults and kids would tell my mom like that I'm not her child and that I would be adopted because of the skin color that I have.
Do you ever feel excluded because of your identity or language?
In the past, when I was younger, I would get like excluded from activities because of the bias to just English speaking students, because my first language is Spanish and I at the time didn't know any English.
Do school staff and teachers make you feel less or more excluded?
Now I feel like teachers actually put in the work to include students, and I feel very included in activities because I also do have learning disabilities.
I wasn't expecting you to say that, but have you only felt like this at Latitude or or mostly at other schools?
I felt the inclusivity like here and my middle school because like we're like a smaller school, but like in the past, as I said, it was more difficult for like teachers to actually like understand what kids were going through because it was a big public school and they didn't really have that much experience with only Spanish speaking kids.
What have students and teachers done to make you feel more included? What can teachers and students do to make you feel more included?
You can phrase that question or
What about people's actions and words make you feel excluded?
when I was younger, I felt extremely excluded when my teacher said that I wouldn't like amount to anything because I didn't know a language, and I feel like that's very like really bad, but like in another way.
It's a very bad thing to say to a child at such a young age.
And that's like a really bad thing to say to a young kid because it can affect like how they think about themselves and others.
The good news is that schools can act as a force for change. By fostering open conversations and appreciating diversity, we can break down stereotypes and make connections. If students learn about each other's cultures and lives, empathy is built. Empathy builds not just the courage to stand up for xenophobia, but for ourselves, but for others too. By encouraging open communication and celebrating diversity, we can overcome stereotypes and develop connections. We all have a role in making sure everyone feels like they belong. Teachers, students, and school staff. Daily small steps matter too. Challenging hurtful language, defending friends who feel excluded, and choosing kindness over judgmental all contribute to safer and inclusive environments for all.
When people choose to listen and learn instead of assuming, they help foster a culture of respect and understanding. Creating inclusive schools is not always easy, and it takes effort from everyone, including students, teachers, and school leaders. It all makes a difference with every little step. If we work together, we can ensure that no one is left out and every student feels welcome for who they are. We encourage you to start conversations in classrooms, school events, and even with family. Open discourses about xenophobia can eliminate misconceptions and increase understanding. Schools can also play a role by organizing workshops, creating cultural exchange programs, or establishing student-sponsored diversity clubs. Teachers and students can be a part of the solution by advocating for inclusive policies and ensuring everyone is heard. Through listening and learning and standing up to discrimination, we can create schools as safer and more welcoming places for everyone. We can't end xenophobia in schools in one night, but we can, with each conversation, an act of kindness. By standing up to discrimination and choosing empathy over judgment, we can create communities where every person belongs. The stories that we have shows us that change starts in understanding, and it's up to all of us to make this change ongoing. We can make schools where diversity is celebrated. We can make schools where diversity is celebrated, where every student gets the chance to feel safe, supported, and proud to be themselves.